Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this workshop on understanding matrescence, navigating the psychological shift as a new mum. I'm Dr. Shoma Chakravarti, and I will be leading you through this workshop. This workshop comes to you as a part of the return to work journey. So, wherever you may be in the transition as a new mom, maybe you're just considering going back to work, or maybe your maternity leave is almost ending. Use this workshop as a way to garner some ideas, some strips, some strategies to put together a plan. Now, matricide, although for a large part it can be a normative process and it can have, parts which are, like I said, you have a template to deal with it. It may be important to keep in mind that things can get really overwhelming. It's a little bit like it is a very fragile time, and one more thing, and then it can become like the straw on the camel's back sort of a situation. So, here are some strategies for when things start to feel overwhelming. One of the first, of course, is making space for mixed emotions. You will really find a vacillation that is most unthinkable if you've not had a baby because you love, hate, rage, anger, resentment, and back to love is all possible in the day or in life of a new mom. So pay attention to your mixed emotion, but also keep track of if you notice one singular concerning is showing up a lot. So, for instance, if you had just fleeting worries about something, but you notice that you're ruminating about it, you're googling about it, you're wondering if your baby has something that's that serious, and it does not feel completely proportionate or rational, just keep a tab on that. The second thing is holding space for ambivalence. Sometimes the ambivalence or the mixed feelings we feel are simply a function of how tired we are. It could also be inherent to the transformation that you're in. But knowing that there is no one feeling that will dominate these weeks and months in the beginning is a very, very um, sombering set of marker. Very often people will always speak to you, you are so happy, you have a baby, it's such a blessing to have a baby. And so it makes you feel wrong about having any ambivalent feelings about it. But it's a very, very common experience for new parents. And when there is, of course, ambivalent and mixed feelings, we do need spaces that feel safe. It's very important not to expect all of this emotional safety only from your partner because they themselves are also dealing with this transition. So even when you're going into this phase of life, know who are your, really close people. Close don't have to be people in the same city. It could be someone who gets you but is sitting in another country. It could be a sibling that you're close to. It could be your friend at work who's also had a baby earlier. And keep these people abreast with what's happening with you. So they also know, they will also then check in. So your emotional safety does not feel burdensome as a responsibility to either you or to your partner because you're already figuring a lot of things for answers within the system. And wherever possible, taking time, space, and giving ourselves the permission to process. So, this is what happens when there is a lot happening inside home. You will have a place where all these big emotions come and they sort of narrow and get stuck because they're not getting processed. Our body is like a container for emotions, and all the emotions that we feel actually have a physical impact on our body. So, anger is not something that you're feeling in your head, it's actually something you're feeling in your body. You will notice this when you see how anger makes your ears warm, right? That the anger is actually an experience for the body. And now imagine if there is no movement, there are only demands, there is no one to talk to, all of these difficult emotions come and start filling up your container and there is no space to pour out. Now, this permission to process and time to process, of course, can happen with your own support groups, your own family, your own friends, and wherever needed, professional help is also a very, very vital and important option for you to consider. So, when things get really, really demanding, first thing is dial down, look at what's essential in your day, and then consider that if I'm going this close to my limit, it's really time to do a check on what's overwhelming, what's not necessary, what's urgent, what's important, and only prioritizing the ones that are urgent. The second thing is parenthood in the initial months is on its own very, very demanding. It's not something right or wrong about how you are doing it. It's just objectively up there. It's quite a difficult thing. You're not meant to be doing a lot of that alone, right? Evolutionarily, again, we had a village and large joint families and communities doing the work. that needed to go into taking care of a new baby. Now it's done by a very, very limited group of people. And I think no other generation of parents may have had it this isolated. And check what coping strategies you're usually applying. If you feel like, basics are out of check, like you've not slept at all in 2 nights, and you're still thinking about what there is to do, you really have to then put a stop somewhere and prioritize the sleep first, because you're not going to make big decisions when you're already that sleep deprived. It may also then be, for today, the burns are only that we make sure we have eaten, we make sure we get some rest and some play with the baby about it. And if you feel that, this is not, all of these steps have been used, you've done a lot of, talking to your friends or try to talk to your partner, but you're still feeling difficult emotions, they are coming at a greater intensity and it is interfering in your bonding or connecting with the baby, please, please, please use that as an opportunity to consider therapy, because at least 30% of parents, 30% of new moms are at risk and experiencing postpartum anxiety or depression. And a word about postpartum anxiety, it's much more common than postpartum depression. Even there is a lot of talk, generally because we suddenly become in charge of the health, complete health, and we're figuring the baby's signals and we're figuring the baby's pain, and they cannot tell us. It's natural that the mother's brain is wired towards looking at signs of distress. So it's very hard to differentiate what is the normal worry you would have to respond to take care of the child versus when am I sort of going down spirals where I'm imagining terrible things happening to my child. And it is very, very distressful. It takes a lot of energy to cope with. So therapy is safe space, a great alternative to feeling like you can deal with all of this on your own. It will also help you see all the right things you've been doing in the process and how much you've been accomplishing sometimes. So when it comes to social support, of course, there are various types of support. There is instrumental support, there is emotional support. So instrumental support is when someone comes in and actually does things that help us, whereas emotional support is when someone witnesses us and supports us emotionally. Generally, what do we need a mix of both in this phase, but when it comes to social support, it's something we have to build. Unfortunately, that's not something we can take for granted anymore. And it's something that we have to build. And so it's important to sort of check in, like I said, list down some people and be in touch with the ones who get you, who you can feel, that I'm safe with people. And another very, very important thing is consider hiring professional support if it is possible for you. It could be that, like a lot of traditional systems have a rhythm of where 40 days the mothers are actually completely taken care of. A lot of doulas in the West speak of how you spend 5 days absolutely in bed after birth, then you spend 5 days just in bed but moving, and then 5 days completely limited to your room. These may sound very unrealistic, or they may sound very uh, out there, and you may not believe these or you may not consider these, but all of these were actually put out with the notion that the mother needs a lot of rest to heal at this point and to bond with the baby. So she was essentially then supposed to only do that. And other things which have to be done for the home or to support the functions of taking care of the baby could actually be given out or outsourced to someone who's professional and comes in to help. So I think those things which add to your overwhelm are under your control. Something else that comes up with social support is that the degree of support we are going to get and how usable it feels to us really depends on how we communicate. So it may be that I'm very, very stressed about the house, but I'm screaming at someone for not understanding me. You have to pause and see where the overwhelm is coming. If it feels like a priority and you want to address what's happening with your home and you think you may feel better, then do it like that. So because the overwhelm can be so mixed and so in like the in the trenches, when you are really in the trenches of this experience, sometimes just pausing and saying, what is the help I need the most? Do I need someone to take, or I can use the washroom, right? Sometimes it could just be that elementary. So check what you need and communicate that most directly. It could mean that you have to say something that you feel shame about. I'm really tired. I don't feel like taking care of the baby right now. Can someone keep her for 1 hour while I go nap? But this is how we have to get down to the trenches to actually have our needs met. And if you'll notice, this is exactly how babies operate because they are not allowed to sort of socially have their needs validated, right? They are intuitively connected with their needs. And I think moms also need to be a little bit more intuitively connected with their needs wherever the situation permits. Since so much of matchsins is actually about processing, may be important to hold certain powerful reframes. Now, what really are reframes? Reframes are uh, a revisioning of how we see some things, which don't really change the truth, but they change how we appraise the truth, right? So, when we think of motherhood, we may actually imagine motherhood as being a series of things that mothers do. Mothers take care of their children, mothers feed their children, mothers take them to school. Together, parents do a whole bunch of things which make the child's life full, flourishing, rich. But you know what children take away the most? They take away this quality word, the pinch of how it felt to be at home. So if you ask a child, like later in life, or when you speak to adults and you ask them what really reminds them home, they may say, it would be those days when the light would go off and you and sit together and play Antakshri, right? So you have to remember that while there may be a lot for us to do as new parents, what we are actually trying to emulate is a certain way of being, right? Is a certain way of being which says, yes, we have many things to do, but we also want to spend time as a family unit and with the child. And to do this, the thing that we have to then learn to action out this reframe is learn that good enough is good enough, right? So if not everything is done, but the essentials are done, that's about it. Sometimes nothing helps a day with a baby or a toddler more than a good laugh or a play session with the child because you realize how much they enjoy it, right? So really, really cultivate a notion of what does it mean or how do I want to be present to my child. The next one, and I think the fixed is a big preference for us. We may feel like we arrived at this template of something that works with our child. So we may feel like now this works and we want to keep repeating it. But children are like so dynamic, and every time they hit a new good spot, everything will change. We will be forced to re-examine the last normal that works. So keep your mind open for the fact that this time is going to be very, very fluid. And when things are not going well and you're feeling an urge to blame yourself, blame everybody else, sometimes it just may be okay to say, okay, this was not well handled. Does not matter how it was just a bad day. What can we do better the next time? So shifting from the notion of it's all on me and I have to figure it, and when it's not being figured, I blame others, to saying, okay, this was a regrettable experience. What do we fix here? So time it gets handled better in a team-wise approach. So these are some powerful reframes that you may have to consider.